All right, A Raw Canvas, how are you? So I hope I said A Raw Canvas in the last video and not my writing channel. If I did, well, there's that for that channel. Anyway, this is day 3 of Artmas for you guys. So I'm only doing 5 days of Artmas, and essentially it's like a vlogmas style leading up to Christmas. You guys will see these things from the 20th to the 24th. That's 5 videos. Might be a bonus in there later. But yeah, so it's those. Oh, let me turn this off. Sorry y'all, I'm cooking hot dogs. I'm doing my hot dogs and cooking and eating and all that kind of good stuff. So anyway, we're back. So today's video is going to be advice for vending. And so I have had a few years of vending experience now. I think I started in 2022. I think it was before I went back to school for my MFA in 2023, which is fall 2023. So I think I had at least 1 year of vending before then, because I was really big into tarot. And then I started selling art and stuff like that. So I have a little bit of advice for you guys. So I'm gonna write it down because, like, I didn't write this down beforehand. So bear with me. Do I have other? There's a pen, a better pen, dollar store pen. So just vending. What are you vending? One, what are you vending? You need to figure that out, because that'll determine sometimes where you can go with your art or whatever you're vending, right? So if you're doing sculpture, if you're doing print, if you're doing photography, if you're doing tarot, if you're doing backpacks, if you're doing fashion, you need to know the parameters of like what you are selling, what your shop business contains, because some vending places, they only want curated like candles, they only want body care and stuff like that. You also want to just know what you can and cannot get away with in terms of selling when there's like last minute like vendor calls. So like I did a last minute vendor call, unfortunately I had to cancel, but they weren't looking for food, right? So if you're a vendor and you're a food vendor, right, sometimes places are very iffy about that because they have their own vendors and stuff like that. So figure out what you're vending, what the parameters are for vending what you have. Go from there. Next, check out the dates. Figure out if you like spring markets, summer markets, fall markets, winter markets, holiday specific markets. Figure that stuff out so that you can prepare. So if you are a winter market kind of person, which is somewhere between and winter market is, for me, is really like late fall, so it's kind of like Halloween onward, because that's when people get in the mood to shop. And especially after Thanksgiving, that last like month, people are definitely looking for things. Like they'll be in stores, they'll be at markets, they're doing holiday shopping. Sometimes people are just looking around in the holiday spirit, right? People are still moving around and stuff like that. I think the idea that everyone's online is kind of false. People are definitely in person, like shopping in person. Like people are talking about dying malls and stuff like that. Like where I live, like certain malls are dead, but like certain ones are not. Like, and they get pretty good foot traffic. It definitely matters what kind of population you have, if it's college age, if it's school age, if it's like working adults, if it's stay-at-home moms, depending on the area and what the shops are offering, it still matters. So people are still going out and about and things like that. So figure out what time of year, if you want to do year-round, holiday specific, etc. Like I said, think about that. Next, think about application fees, applications, general stuff like that. Figure out if you're willing to pay for slots, if you're willing to pay for the application to be even considered for a slot. Consider all of those things, because you may be out several $100s depending on what the application fee is and what the vending fee is, things like that. So these are some things to like consider for that. Other things, advice for vending, figure out roughly the demographics that serve each market. So some markets serve like elderly people. They're more elderly people. Some are very niche craft. So like holiday fairs that are for knitting, something like that. A pet fair, a Valentine's Day fair, a floral fair, jewelry, stuff like that. Like understand like the demographics that they're pulling in based on like the vendors and stuff like that, right? Like they may have a specific market for like yarn knitting kind of thing. Like these are like actual things that you can be a part of, and they can be very niche, and you need to understand like again what you do and do not make. So understand that kind of stuff. Next thing would be understanding your like display, your market display, your needs and desires in terms of like visibility, and you need to be marketing yourself in person and online if you have an online space as well, letting people know. And this is something I need to get better at, but I know it helps, you know, letting people know where you're going to be, time, date, all that kind of stuff, letting people know what is available in your shop, some examples, things like that, just general visibility and letting people build up anticipation. So definitely get on the marketing side of things, email lists, etc. with those things. Getting your market displays nice if you're in person, making sure that things are visible, making sure you have the best stock available, that your prices are visible, they're clear, concise, your marketing is clear and concise, you have ways that people can reach you, you have business cards, you have QR codes, you have payment processing software. Venmo, Cash App, PayPal are pretty cool. Some people are still using card processing like Square and stuff like that, which is also cool. But like I do Venmo and Cash App, and that seems to be fine because most people have either one. Some people have Zelle, some people have PayPal. Less so. I find that Venmo is a lot more, it's a lot more popular, and then Cash App is like close behind. Here's some advice in terms of finding spaces and things to maybe consider when you are vending. So when you're going to look for a spot for vending, really figure out the promoter, because the promoter can sometimes make or break your vending experience. The reason why I say that is like there's a lot of people, and I mentioned this on my YouTube, like I replied to somebody on their YouTube. There's a lot of people getting into being a promoter and being the person that like finds the venue and does the stuff, and you pay them the fee, but they're terrible marketers. They're terrible at promoting. They pick really shitty spaces. They do really bad weekends. They have really high fees, and it doesn't matter to them. Like, some of them you can tell like they would want the crowd and stuff like that. But if they've already made the amount of money necessary to pay off what they spent to get the space, they're good. And it doesn't matter if anyone comes through because they made their money. They made their money back. Will you make your money back is what you need to like consider. So that's what I'm saying. Consider fees and stuff like that too, because if you can't make your booth fee back, your vending fee back, even your application fee back, there can be a lot of issues going on with your own product and how you're promoting yourself. But it could also be that like the promoter themselves are shitty. Pay attention to the weekends that you're doing it. Look up wherever you are, what's going on in that vicinity in terms of like the same city, the same area of the city, etc. Because If you have 3 markets, you want to know which one has like the bigger foot traffic, which one has access to Patreons that are Patreons. I'm on Patreon. I follow someone on Patreon. You need to know these sort of things. You need to know the demographic and the makeup and stuff like that. I know when I go to certain spaces, I need to have lower end products. If I go to other spaces, I can have the full range, right? So knowing your demographics and stuff like that help. The promoter especially though, because another thing with the promoter is that you need to know, and this is kind of like the main one, if the vending space is closed. And what I mean by that is, because I just did this like last week, it was a closed kind of vending affair. And what I mean by that is like the people invited are there for a very specific thing. So this is what I mean. Church events, association group club events, sorority events, things like that. Like, that's what I mean. It's like a closed circle. The only people that really know about it and really give a shit about going to that event are people who are affiliated with that. This was a church. It wasn't a church event, but it was held at the church and it was for a recital. And the amount of people that were coming for that was very small, right? So it was closed. It was essentially, if you were going to come for that event, that's who your marketing thing, that's who your pool for people was. I made a sale. I made a $3 sale. The person was really nice, cool. But it wasn't the best situation because the people that were there were not there to buy. They were there for the recital. And so, yeah, I'm a vendor at a space, but I didn't choose the right space. I didn't choose the right event to vend at, because the people that were coming were there to see their kids or their cousin or whatever perform, and then like kind of mingle and then eat and then leave. They weren't really there to buy anything. So you have to be a part of places where people are interested in buying. It makes it a lot easier, you know? So I would reconsider if it's a closed kind of thing. So definitely pay attention to the promoter, pay attention to their past record, pay attention to like events that they show up at. Just pay attention to that kind of stuff. Pay attention to if they have a track record. Maybe you find it online that they don't do well with refunds. They don't do well with promotion. The video that I responded to on YouTube was like the person lost money, essentially, lost out on money because the promoter was using them as marketing and they had no marketing of their own. But this is like, there's a growing wave of people like, I'm going to do like event planning kind of promotion stuff, and they have no business doing it because they want the money. They want the upfront money because people want to make sales. I won't say they're desperate to make sales, but I definitely feel like when you have stuff and you want to sell it and you feel like any little opportunity to get out there, you go for it. That is a ticking time bomb waiting to happen, because sometimes you're jumping into situations that are just wastes. They're wastes of time. Like, you don't meet it. Like, it's a waste of time in that you don't make money. You make very little monies. You don't make any connections, and you don't leap from this onto something else that's better. You kind of stay stuck with that. So definitely, these are some things to consider for your vending. I think that's about it. Thank you for watching. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye. Take care.